Hello and welcome to PBCJ Presents, our weekly current affairs discussion series where we deep dive into important issues affecting Jamaica land we love. I'm Maya Chung. This week we are joined by the Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, who is here to tell us about some of the strategies employed by the ministry and the government to ensure that the Jamaican tourism sector came out a winner despite the challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic. Welcome to the program, Minister. I am so happy to have you here. You are a bastion of hope in dark days, you and the sector and the workers.
Oh, well, thank you on behalf of the workers and the sector. I think it's to them that honor goes, and I'll tag along.
Indeed. Sir, let me get right into it. So, the winter tourist season has started off with a bang. And one of the things that you have mentioned is that that bang, that growth process, is something that the government and the sector will be driving forward. We have to, we must. Break that out for me some more.
Right. So we were able, with the support of a whole range of partners, to emerge from the COVID experience with growth. And I think that's something that our Prime Minister, the Cabinet, the stakeholders in tourism, all the players can feel justly satisfied and absolutely proud about. Because as a destination and a small country with a high dependence on services, and tourism is at the center of that, we could have been, like many others, still struggling to recover. Because most of the countries around us are at varying levels of recovery.
We could have been wiped out.
Absolutely, and that's the other end of the extreme pole. But we don't want to go there because we are driven by a deeper purpose of ensuring that we build the capacity to not just survive, but to thrive.
Thrive is a mild word because if I'm not incorrect, I heard we've logged 463% level of growth over the same period last year.
Yes.
Forgive me for sounding a little bit excited. It's not 100, you know. It's not 50. It's not 50. 463%. Yeah. How is that possible under the travails?
Tell you, we had larger percentage growth recovering from COVID in 21, 22, the early part of 22. But I think we have to be fair in all of this. Is the figure that I really wanted to focus on more was that January so far, as we're saying. Yes, it is 463% over 22, over 22 January. And part of that reason, of course, we had Omicron. So that would
the COVID variant.
That
right.
would have depressed the numbers a bit there. So that number is important to note, but the more important number is the fact that we're 29% ahead of January 29. Now that is the important number because January 29 was the best year.
2019?
2019, yes. That's right. So there you go.
If I'm not mistaken, we're $500 million more than that, our best year. Is that correct?
At the end of fiscal 22-23, we will record $4.2 billion US, which will be 500 million more than 2019.
What is the explanation for this? Because there is something called hope, and Jamaicans are a hopeful people. It doesn't matter what, we have something to hold on to. Every Jamaican knows tourism is one of the, if not the big deal here in the country. How is this accomplishable? Give
I
me a
think we come
breakout.
back to the fact that I'll go further back in time, even before COVID, to 2009-10, in the middle of the Great Recession at the time. And what we did was to future-proof tourism by going into 220 gateways in the United States. Now, the United States is the largest and most significant tourism destination source market in the Americas. China, of course, is the #1 in the world. But the U.S. is the richest and the most lucrative of all the markets that we have. And so 67 million people from the U.S. travel to different parts of the world every year. 67 million. Jamaica's share of that is just a little over 1%. So the scope for expansion and growth in the U.S. is enormous, just the U.S. alone. And we discovered that quickly in the 2009-10 period, and that's why we went after that, and we made an arrangement with American Airlines, you know, that, as usual, the naysayers gave me a hard time about. But that enabled us to grow 3 years consecutively during the recession, because we were able, notwithstanding the fact that there's a recession, to draw from various areas of the United States. And that caused us to today be able to have that same power of pull in the US, so that during the immediate period of 21-22, we had over 1 million visitors from the US alone.
Wow.
And now we are back to where we were in 2019 with 1.7 million visitors. And the drive for 23-24 is to get to 2 million visitors in time.
All right, I'm going to stop you right there. We take a break. When we come back, we'll have to delve more into that. You're watching PBCJ Presents. My guest is the Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett. Stay with us. Welcome back. You are watching PBCJ Presents. I'm Maya Chung. My guest today is Minister Edmund Bartlett, Tourism Sector. Sir, just before the break, we were delving into some of the plans that had been laid long before COVID. Continue on from the break where we were. We had gotten into some gateways. We didn't foresee this thing. Enlighten the rest of the world and the region and the nation watching as to how we walk this path to today, still being successful in tourism and growing even greater.
Right. I want to emphasize the point, though, of the importance of the U.S. market for us, and the fact that in real terms, the U.S. kept this region together during the pandemic, because it was the only major market that was not closed.
Why?
The U.S. never closed their borders throughout.
Do you know why?
Well, because I think the management that they had, and also the fact that the diversity of the U.S. in its many forms, and I think the technology that they have, and also I think the sense that they also have that a closed border doesn't solve the problem. As we saw with all the places where the borders were closed. I mean, there's nowhere that you could think of more than China, who closed their borders, and you know they're still
today
arguably
are
still in a spot.
yes.
So because of that, the tourism flows from the U.S. into the Caribbean was our mainstay, not just Jamaica, but the rest of the Caribbean as well. And I wanted to emphasize that, because I think that sometimes, you know, we don't always see these valued responses that our partners and friends have made during difficult times. And tourism has enabled us to grow for 7, 8, 9 consecutive quarters. And we are going to grow significantly in the last quarter because tourism will be growing very strong in this third quarter. And I made a point to you about why the fourth quarter will be so strong. We had Omicron, of course.
Right.
So the numbers are going to be really, really very impressive.
Right.
And it's going to impact the GDP growth in the end. So the other areas of marketing which are critical for us now is, of course, the UK, Europe. We struggled a bit with Europe, as you know, and Canada, which is the third big market, which is really the second largest for us, struggled too. In fact, they were the last to be opened, if you remember their borders. So in the meantime, we were looking elsewhere. We were picking the Caribbean. And I want to make a point about that because the Caribbean has come on very strong during this period. And the Caribbean is now somewhere in the region about the fourth largest market segment for us.
Nice.
So the future-proofing of tourism is about new markets. It's about new partnerships. It's about getting new airline connectivity.
I heard you mention that in Parliament yesterday, the future-proofing.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And that's important because during the immediate post-COVID period, I was all over. We went into Asia. We went into the Middle East. You know, I was in Japan. I was in Dubai. I was in
And
Saudi
on a personal
Arabia.
note, you were risking yourself in
Of
this
course,
in this
absolutely,
disease
absolutely.
environment.
We were in all the key areas, and then we were looking at Africa. And in February later on, we're going to be having Africa-Caribbean Convergence, Tourism Convergence Summit, where we'll be bringing ministers of tourism from Africa and the Africa Exim Bank chairman and a number of airline partners and so on to meet with our Caribbean ministers as well.
It's a CARICOM.
It is a unofficial, it's a tourism CARICOM.
Tourism CARICOM. I heard you say that tourism is not really the sector, it is the multiplicity of people who coalesce around you.
That's correct.
And I agree with you 100%.
And that's what makes us. You see, we're not an entity unto ourselves. We only happen because everything else is happening. So it is on our interest for everything to happen well. Because the better it happens, the more attractive we are, and the more visitors that will come to us. So driving then the second key element, which is a non-traditional market area, and that's called thought leadership, where we spend now some time influencing tourism thinking in different parts of the world.
Not just the cliches of the past.
Absolutely.
You evolve it to a more sophisticated level.
To find new ways of doing things, to develop new processes, but to engage new partners from different parts of the world, to understand Jamaica, to be intrigued by Jamaica, and to want to visit Jamaica.
On that line, I think, we launched the Coffee Festival.
Correct.
Right, so that's thought leadership right there, and you made an excellent point. We're not paying for this, Jamaica. We need investors, and that is key. Explain.
Right. So now we are looking for a recovery that is more inclusive, and a recovery that is going to involve more players, because tourism have that capacity to bring everyone in, because we're driven by ideas. And ideas converted into material things that have a value and a price. And
ideas are the nucleus of thought leadership.
Absolutely. And people travel for that. That's what people do. They travel to fulfill their passions.
Indeed.
And what are these passions? You name it. You know, you would never believe that a little guy who have an idea of making 2 crabs race actually make money in tourism to make 2 crabs race.
I probably would, but it wouldn't be a large idea that I can see that happening.
Right. So the simplicity of ideas is not material to provide a return, because there are people who are interested in these things.
It's the manifestation.
It's an amazing thing, you know.
Of the idea.
So just to make the point that the investment now in tourism supplies the inputs of tourism, the things that make people come to your destination.
All right,
The food, you know, as we talk about gastronomy, the food, coffee.
The coffee.
Coffee is the second largest liquid to be consumed by anyone on earth.
We're going to take another break on PBCJ Presents. My guest is Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett. Stay with us. We have more. And welcome back. You are watching PBCJ Presents. I'm Maya Chung. My guest this episode is Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett. Welcome back, sir. Coffee Festival happens in March. We were just talking about the fact that coffee is the second most consumed liquid other than water in the world. However, you were making some points about we needing investors to come in, and I want to get into some of the other issues that are surrounding this growth and thrust and future-proofing of tourism.
Right, so that to build a coffee festival, which is an idea that we generated in 2018, is to drive a demographic that is diverse, because the world responds to coffee in a strong way. And so to make Jamaica, through our Blue Mountain Coffee, you know, a coffee destination is an exciting prospect. But to do that, we need investment. We need people to invest not only in festivals, but to invest in the value chain of coffee.
Like the farming.
Not just the farming now, but in creating the different derivatives, the coffee perfume that we had, the coffee soaps.
I got a coffee perfume at the launch.
Exactly, you know, the coffee scrubs, and all the nutraceutical derivatives of coffee that would sell enormously across just
the globe.
No
they could come here
it,
and
right?
then we sell it across the globe.
And so to recognize that the coffee bean, that it is only about 25% of that bean that goes in the beverage in the end, that there's so much more of it that can be used for so many things that create economic value. And so we want to drive that. We established the Tourism Innovation Incubator at the ministry, where we're looking for people with ideas, new ideas, people who have some new plans, some new thoughts, some new concepts as to how to create new and exciting products as well as experiences for visitors. So we say, come to us, and we will incentivize your ideas. We have $40 million now. We put $100 million from the Exim Bank to make that available, so that more young people who have ideas can come in, and we help them to convert those ideas into material things that have
and
value.
into an income.
And then to link them to a market.
And that's a part of, I could segue from that, that's future proofing.
Absolutely.
So we're moving into future proofing. I want to focus on pensions, because we are the only country that has a pension plan for tourism workers that covers everybody. Yes. Am I correct?
Correct.
And that's a part of the
and that's
future
a point,
proofing.
absolutely, because we have to build the human capital within the industry, and part of it is to enable social security, because people have worked hard, long, and have no benefits. And I saw one of the reasons, I must tell you quickly because I know we have a short time, but what inspired this first ever comprehensive tourism workers pension plan. And this is not hotel workers pension plan. This is not attraction workers pension. It is all the people who work, including the red caps. In fact, they inspired this pension plan, because every year at Christmas we go and have breakfast with, you know, the red caps and the workers at the airports, both airports. And this year, I think it was 2009, PS and I, we saw this 78-year-old man struggling with the luggage, you know, at the end. We said to him, you know, how old are you? He said, 78. I said, so why are you still here doing it? He said, well, Minister, if I don't do this, I won't eat. We said, something is wrong with that. So we asked him, how long you been doing it? He said, 45 years. I said, oh my God. So you are here working for 45 years.
And if you don't do it, you
And
won't
if you don't do
eat.
it, you won't eat. Something is wrong with that picture. And that inspired setting up of the Tourism Workers Pension Plan. And today, I'm proud to say we have the only plan of its kind in the world. And people are asking me about it.
And we need more people to join. Please
Yes,
encourage
and
them
so far
before we run out
we
of
have
time.
8,000 members, but we need to grow. And the reason we only have 8,000 is that the scheme just came on board in March of last year. And of course, workers who are young don't often readily see the value of pension. That's correct. So we have to get that across properly. But when it is all done, the potential of it is to become the largest pool of funds, domestic savings in Jamaica,
with which we can invest
and provide capital for infrastructure, for schools, for hotels, for all
research
kinds of
and development for the sector and other
hospitals,
areas, health,
and you name
health,
it, roads
tourism.
and everything. And that, the importance of that is the value that it gives for growth, because now we are going to be borrowing our money, and every benefit from that stays in Jamaica.
The best person to borrow from anywhere is yourself.
So we want to encourage that, and we want to encourage the hoteliers to encourage their staff to join, and for them to be the drivers of this whole process for us. But beyond that now, self-employed people in the industry, the craft vendors can now have a pension.
Do they go to the JTB or?
No. We go to them. The fund administrator is Guardian Life.
Guardian Life.
And so they go. They have.
And so they're seeking.
Absolutely. The raftsmen on the Rio Grande.
I love rafting on the Rio Grande.
They now can have a pension.
Let me ask you this.
The taxi drivers who work with the tourism sector can now have a job.
The red caps.
The red caps, absolutely.
You mentioned his age, 78, so it's not too late. So you mentioned the young ones who were done not thinking.
So this is a very important feature of the scheme, which makes it unique.
Yeah.
Is that we have something called the augmented employer. That is somebody who is 59 years old now, never had a pension. He can join at 59 and retire at 65. And in 5 to 6 years, get the same level of pension as though he had been a member from age 18 or 19. Now that is made possible because the government of Jamaica, the Andrew Holness government, put $1 billion Jamaican dollars into the fund.
That is admirable.
So at this minute,
beyond admirable.
Absolutely. So that people who are only 5 years in the scheme can get a benefit of a pension of $200,000 a year.
Minister, we have
this
to
is
speak
unprecedented.
again. It's unprecedented.
But that's what the Andrew Holness administration is about.
I have to congratulate you on that.
People.
Yes, and I hope that those of us watching on PBCJ Presents are hearing. I have to have you back. I have to end it here. Thank you for being my guest. We have to break out some more of the other wonderful things that are happening. It has been a pleasure. Thank you again.
Thank you too, and Happy New Year to all
Jamaica.
Jamaica. And let's make 23 the best year of all.
I agree with you, sir.
And let's be safe, but more important, let's decide that we're going to live better with each other.
Indeed.
That we're going to protect life, and that we are going to be more civil, and that we are going to try to resolve our differences peacefully.
And on that note, thank you again. You have been watching PBCJ Presents. I have been your host, Maya Chung. My guest has been the Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett. Thank you for watching. Join us again next week for more on this show.